All right. So hi Teresa, how's it going?
Hey, Michelle. Yeah, it's going okay.
Good. How are you feeling today?
Yeah, things are good. Today's a good day. Saturday. It's blue sky and a pretty productive day, so it's a good day.
Awesome, awesome. So I'm so happy to have this video chat with you, and just a great opportunity to kind of reflect on this journey that we've had together, dealing with binge eating, your relationship with food, and you've come an awfully long way. And so I'm so happy for you in that, especially in the happiness you've created. So, and just to give some context, I mean, this video is going to be shared with people who are in like a similar situation, like they've been struggling with binge eating, maybe some negative body image, maybe some yo-yo dieting, all the stuff that comes with that. And like it's like they're tired of waking up every morning feeling frustrated about that and like crap, from a binge. So yeah, just want to hear from you, kind of like where you were at well, actually, can you share a little bit about who you are?
Yeah, I'd be. Um, I guess I'll just start. I'm a pretty driven person. I'm a high performing person. I like to achieve high, and I come from a family that are high performers and also expect a lot. I've grown up with that type of influence. And in my life, I've always strived to be the best at whatever it is I do. I know my dad was an engineer, and so he wanted me and my sister to become engineers, and so I became an engineer, and worked really hard in school, got excellent grade point average, and then was hired onto ExxonMobil, one of the best oil companies in the world. So I've always wanted to strive to be the best. And that comes with um, it's great to have that type of drive, but it also comes with a consequence of, being a perfectionist and being hard on yourself and um, fear of judgment from others. And so um, I think that has really uh, put me in a position to where I came to you, reaching out to somebody such as you. Unfortunately, I was impacted by layoffs due to COVID, and so I um, had some downtime. And another one of my passions is fitness, and so I decided, well, since I've been laid off from my company, and I'm going to take some time for myself, and I decided to do bodybuilding. And of course, I wanted to achieve well and go all in as I usually do, and so I did, and got very lean, and I was very proud of myself and did well in my competition. And then it was over, and then I was kind of left with what's next, and that I got all this validation from a really lean body, and I was really restrictive on my food, um and and my body was everything to me, a- and after the competition, it just kind of really spiraled, and I really wanted to keep this control of my body and all this restriction, um and I just kind of didn't know where to go, like I was starting to gain more weight because I wasn't, I didn't have that goal in mind anymore. I didn't have that competition in front of me, and I just couldn't handle this gaining this weight, and I couldn't handle just not looking as lean, and it was just an awful time. And then I was getting a lot of pressure from my parents to get another job, um, and just a really bad time. And a lot of transition, from having, going into that competition mode, then kind of not knowing what to do. And then I finally did get another job, and then kind of transitioning back into the corporate world, um, and so I was just lost, and I needed some type of support, and so that's kind of where I came to you, and that's kind of why I reached out.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said so many great things there. And you're bit like something that stood out to me even when I first talked to you, Teresa, was like that this girl's like a bit of a badass, like in a, you know, like up to a lot. And there's, yeah, like you said, there's pros and cons to that. There's like it's really great. And then there's the consequences, you know, when you're driving so hard and then you kind of feel like you have to control everything, and that can be detrimental, especially when it comes to your body, something that you don't totally have control over. You kind of have to befriend, you know. um, so yeah, so and then you came to me, and I actually forgetting a little bit kind of how we started talking to each other, but I think I know it was over Instagram. And when we started talking and you thought about working together, what would you say was like your main goal um, coming into that?
I think being more content with myself, um, letting go of some of this control, and just being happier because I was miserable, you know. I just couldn't find a way out. It was just really bad time, and I just didn't know what to do. I was transitioning to this new job, and I couldn't work out all the time, and I couldn't have control of that. And then I didn't know how to eat again, and I just needed help. And so that's why I reached out, because a lot of the messages that you mentioned on your Instagram and Facebook page really spoke to me. I said, those that sounds like me, like that some of the things you were talking about. I have those issues, and she sounds like she really knows what she's talking about. And um, so yeah, that's kind of why I started reaching out.
Yeah. And when you reach out, like you said, that there was kind of a lot, like you said, of change going on, right? And so there was the fact that you moved into that new position, and like life wasn't quite like you were going in a different direction than bodybuilding, fitness training person, you know, and like going to a place where now you didn't have as much working out time and as much just time and energy to focus on that. And
Right.
so yeah, so that seemed like a big driving force for you, right? As far as wanting to kind of get a hang of this.
Very much so. All of the Can you still hear me, Michelle? I'm not sure. Did it pause?
Yeah, sorry, you cut out just then for a
There we go.
moment.
I can hear
I think you said very much so.
you. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, and so great. So that was your goal coming in, was that contentedness and just feeling, it seems like a sense of confidence, right?
Yeah.
Restored. And was this like impacting any other areas of your life besides just your body and food?
Yeah, my overall happiness, I just miserable and just not, it was almost like it was like, I'd wake up and um exercise, go to work and go to bed, and just didn't know what to do, just depressed, just bad times.
Yeah, yeah. And um what again were the things like that you actually you tried, because you had tried some things to kind of deal with this, right?
You know, I think I was afraid of trying things
Mm,
that I've tried now that I've been talking with you. I was afraid to try to of letting go of teaching my fitness classes, and I was afraid of letting go of my nutritionist that I'd been working with, and I was afraid of um, eating more carbs. I was afraid of making these changes because I didn't know what was going to happen, and they were a source of comfort and control. And I was afraid of making those changes. But um, after kind of realizing that some of these things that I've been holding on to for so long in my life were actually to my detriment, and not, although it seemed like they were helping me, they weren't.
Mm.
And so I think that's where a lot of the things came down to. I was afraid of letting go of control.
Mm. Yeah. And what happened when we started working together?
My mindset just changed and shifted, and I started to realize that I have the power to make changes, and I also have the power, as to fail and make mistakes, and change that. It's not the end of the world. If something doesn't go my way, that means I'm not a failure. It's a learning opportunity, and that next time it happens, I can try something different. And so it's nice to realize that I still do have control, even if when I make a decision. So when we started working together, and I decided, hey, I don't want to teach fitness classes for a little bit. So I decided, which was a really big deal for me, I decided I'm not going to teach some classes. And I'm so glad that I finally made that decision. I feel so relieved. I feel not burdened by it and controlled by it. And I also know that, hey, when I want to go teach fitness classes again, I can go teach fitness classes again. It's fine. But I think I've allowed myself to finally make that decision and say, I'm going to attempt to do this now, it's okay, and I can come back to it later. And I've started to shift my mindset into that kind of route, where it's a learning opportunity if things don't go my way, rather than a failure.
Hmm. And I just really want to like acknowledge you, Teresa, for you. There were a couple of things like that, where you were hesitant to give it a try. And and you would still do it. You would still be like, okay, I guess I could, give that a try. I guess that's something I could do. And the funny thing is, though, a lot of the things that you did try were things that you wanted to do yourself.
Exactly.
you
You,
know
you made me feel good several times, because you said, I didn't tell you to make that decision. You decided to make that decision on your own. I was like, you know what? You're right. I decided to make that decision on my own. We talked through it. But in the end, I made the call, and I felt good about it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and I really do like to emphasize that, because like my goal is that not to you to need me necessarily. It's like you to be in a place where you feel good about making your own decisions, because I think especially when it comes to binge eating, that's a lot of the problem. We're so caught up in getting it right and following what people are telling us to do, that we can't think for ourselves. Or we're afraid to.
Right. Right.
Um,
Yeah.
Great. And can you just share a little bit about also kind of what happened for you, in the realm specifically of food and binge
Sure.
eating?
Yeah, I know. I've got a lot of in our series of chats, we've talked a lot about different things, such as body image and confidence, but food has also been a big part of it. I know you have a lot of clients that deal specifically with binge eating, and I did have I'm probably not as severe binge eating case as, say, some others, but particularly coming off of competition, where you're so restrictive of your calories, and certainly you need to maintain a certain level of body fat, and then trying to get back into a more maintenance style lifestyle. I really struggled with letting go of that control. And so what would happen is, I wanted to stay that lean, and so restrict my calories, but because I didn't have that goal, I wasn't as driven to continue to restrict. So there would be days where I just binge eat because I was starving, or I had the thought process, well, I'm not competing anymore, so I'm going to just eat whatever I want for this day. And then then it would go into the cycle of like, well, oh, I feel awful now, I need to restrict my calories the next day, and exercise for however many hours. um And so that was happening and more often. And then also, now that I was at work, now that I started this job where I couldn't mitigate these binges, where I didn't have like all day to exercise and work off the calories that I'd eaten the following day, I was really struggling about that, like I can't fix it. Like I thought, like I don't have as much time to be able to fix it like I used to. Um, and so I had to learn a new style of eating again, right? Where um, I'd have to pack my lunch, and I'd have to pack snacks, and um, I'd have to make sure I eat at certain times because you have meetings, and it's just a different lifestyle. And so um, I was struggling a lot with at work the afternoons and the evenings, because what I would do is I'd still try and maintain this control in the mornings of having these particular meals that I felt good about, and then I'd be more hungry in the evenings, and I didn't come prepared, and I found that I was snacking and eating more than I needed to, and I couldn't figure it out, and I was feeling really guilty about it, and I was gaining weight, not excessive amounts of weight, but definitely not as lean as I used to be when I was competing. And it was really, really hard just seeing all those changes and trying to get a grasp on how to handle this. And so that was one of the things that I really wanted to work on with you, was how to learn how to eat in this lifestyle and how to listen to myself, and also understand my choices, and kind of realize, well, if I make this decision, how am I going to feel later? Which was really helpful in mindset, thinking, well, if I'm going to eat all this, I know I'm going to feel like shit the next day. I don't really want to feel like that. So I'm not going to do that. Another thing that we learned during our series of chats was preparation. Being a bit more prepared has really helped me. And I think I work well when I'm prepared. I work well when I know I've set myself up for success. So now what I'm doing, and I really enjoy this, is bringing more food in the afternoons, more packed snacks in the afternoon, so that when I am hungry and do need to eat, I feel confident and comfortable in the choices I'm making, and just more in control. Um,
Mm.
so that's been really helpful.
Yeah, awesome. And thanks for sharing all those details, because and there, believe it or not, are some people I've talked to with pretty similar kind of situations, especially when it comes to that kind of afternoon, evening, and coming out of a place where maybe they were uh, like had more exercise or more of a focus on that, and then coming out of that and learning how to then manage eating, um,
Yeah.
so, and then I mean, we did do some work in the realm of body image. Do you have anything you could share about that?
Yeah. I just, we talked about healthiness, and I when I was really lean, all that was for a specific goal, right? But we all understand that that's not something that's achievable long term, or it shouldn't be, right? There are people that try to maintain that, but it shouldn't be, because look what it was doing to me. It was making me binge, or giving me those episodes, and I was sacrificing a lot to maintain that type of look. um and when I started to gain weight, and become a bit, uh, I want to say a bit more athletic looking, I guess, rather than string bean kind of looking, um I had to tell myself that this is where my body wants to be. This is easier to maintain. I don't have to. I can eat and be healthy. I can, I don't have to be starving all the time. I don't have to be in such control and still feel happy and still look athletic. I can still look like I take care of myself and I work out. And yes, I don't look like a premier bodybuilder at this time, but I don't look that bad. So I learned a little bit about trusting myself and also realizing what's healthy for me, and also understanding, what it takes and what type of consequences you will undergo if you want to compete. It comes with those types of consequences. And do you want to have that your whole life? You want to have those types of repercussions with binge eating just to maintain a certain look, or would you like to be a little bit more, have a little bit more body fat and feel a little bit more comfortable and have that less stringent control? So it was kind of shifting my mindset to being a bit more, giving myself a little bit more grace, and just understanding that, you things are for a certain purpose. And overall, I think it was just about being healthy and content with myself. And that's kind of where I guess we really worked on.
Mm. Yeah, wonderful. And yeah, I was just gonna kind of ask about that, like as far as that goal that you had, like that contentedness and happiness. Where how do you feel about where you are with that now as compared to, before?
I feel a lot better about it for certain. I feel more comfortable with my body and the way I look. I feel more comfortable with the weight on the scale, and I feel more comfortable with the food that I'm eating. Um, I've, I my mentality in this will never change. I always want to strive to do well, and um, I would eventually probably like to compete again, and probably like to be a little leaner than I am now. But I realize that, as we've kind of talked about, I have the power to do that. And I also have to understand what those types of decisions come with. Okay, yes, I want to be lean again, lean, lean, competition lean again. But then I have to realize, well, it takes this certain amount of control, and I, at the expense of maybe my mindset and my happiness. Is it really worth it? Or can I really kind of shift my mindset and say, I'm competing for this certain goal, but remember that I will need to get back to a healthier position later. It, it all comes down to that kind of mindset and realizing that, understanding that.
Mm. Yeah. I think a big important thing that we work on too is just that ability to kind of be adaptable.
Yeah, yeah,
And you trust yourself in that, because yeah, it's like I'm always like, we've said before, like a proponent for whoever I'm working with to do what they want to do. Like I'm not going to try to force, my what I want onto you. And so I want you to be able to come out of this feeling like, okay, like, yeah, if you want to go back to bodybuilding, you can. And can you do that in a new way? And you can be adaptable. Or for someone else, they might come out totally differently and be like, I'm totally done with that. I never want to go back. It just depends, right? But as long as you can do that and feel more confident about it, then that's great. Um,
mhm,
so great. And then, and I know like you still have places you want to go, and not everything's perfect, right? And
right,
that's okay.
right.
Yeah. So what would you say as far as in in the program itself, in the process that we followed, like what did you like? What was like your favorite thing, or what worked for you?
I think just having this accountability, knowing that I needed to have these types of discussions each week, and uh, being coming prepared to the calls with things I wanted to talk about, and then we just talking through them. I think that was really helpful for me, having this accountability, because it really kept me saying, yes, I want to change, and yes, I want to be happier. I want to be more content. I want to not have so much food focus and body image focus. I want to be happier. And so I think that's what really helped me, with this program, is just having you there and knowing that I'm accountable to you, and accountable to myself. And so that was everything. Yeah, I really think that that's really what was a big driver for me.
Mm, wonderful. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like when I worked with my coach too, I mean, that was really like the biggest thing, having somebody else there, pushing me for exactly what I wanted. Um, and I'm glad I could be that for you. And then just to get an idea of, 'cause some people, when they hear accountability, they might think like, they might have some kind of negative thoughts. What was that like for you? At least in the experience with working with me, being held accountable.
It's great. I'm a big proponent of being held accountable. I think that drives me, and I've realized that in my life. Hiring a trainer for working out, hiring a nutritionist. I realized that when I have someone holding me accountable, I perform well, and
Mm,
so I knew that this was something that I needed um, to help me progress. Um, so it wasn't hard for me to make a choice. I realized that for others, it might be that might scare them, but you come to realize that, particularly who's someone who's on your side and wants your same goals, that it's not that scary to have someone to hold yourself accountable to, because in the end, you're going to find that they want what you want, and you work together.
mm. Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I agree with you in that sense, and I found in my life too. I do much better. In fact, I'm happy with myself if I have a little support. So,
No, and it's not it's not a bad thing to say you need help. I'll be the first one to tell you these days. I, I'm telling, I need help. I need help with this. I've kind of realized that that's a big deal. But if you are comfortable with asking for help, and you ask the right people and you find the right support, it goes a long way.
yeah. Yeah, and that, I mean, that being said, like you have, even throughout this time that we've worked together, been working with people in various aspects, right? Like fitness trainer, nutritionist at some point. Let's see, I think some other things in there maybe too. And like I'm not totally sure what my question is here. Like, how is that for you? Kind of working with different people for different things.
I think it's great, because I get different perspectives on things. Like, I talked to my trainer about my mindset, and I talked to him about my my body and my food, and it's just nice to and I also tell him about our chats and kind of what I've been learning, and it's nice to get their point of view on things as well. Although I know they're not as classically or uh, as trained as you are with some of the some of your methods, but it's just nice to have that other type of reasoning and also have support too. Because again, these trainers and these nutritionists, that I'm paying them for a service, and they want to help me, just like you have. And I really it's just nice to have that type of support.
Mm, yeah, that's wonderful. And so, as far as like what you what you expected coming in, and like what you ended up doing, was there any difference there of like what you expected you would need to do, for example, to deal with this and feel better, and like versus what we did?
Um, I don't think I really knew what to expect.
Hmm.
Um, but I wasn't what's the word? I wasn't disappointed or upset with the way we worked together and the way we handled this. Talking through it, um, reporting back on situations during the week, writing things down. You know, I kind of I guess I kind of figured that's how it would go, but I really wasn't sure. But yeah, no, everything worked out fine. It wasn't like it was, like climbing a mountain and doing all these massive challenges. It wasn't like that at all. But it did take some work, and it always will take some work. We've talked about this. It's always going to have to be something to put in practice. But now I kind of feel that after going through this, I kind of understand some of the learning tools and some of the things I can apply to tackle these thoughts and issues. So to answer the question, long story short is, um, I I'm happy with how the program was structured and how it worked for me.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's awesome. And um, I mean, as far as like, so you didn't know what to really expect going in, and you ended up happy with it, which is great. Um, but as far as like um, people going into this often, like a lot of people actually have a strong desire to lose weight or prevent weight being gained. And I know that that was something the case for you. Um, like going in with how you felt about that, and then like how it actually went. How was that for you?
Really, really helpful. Started to just let go of that certain number and that certain look, and just being a bit easier on myself. And um, you know, although I certainly don't look as lean as I did, I'm not unhappy with the way I look. I'm not totally upset. And so, yeah, at first it was very scary, and big changes, and I wasn't sure, but I'm coming out of this. I'm okay with the way things are right now. And so, um, I'm glad that I went through this.
Mm. And oh, did you expect to be okay with something like that?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'm not sure if I would have expected to be okay or not, but I am.
Okay. All right. Good. And then is there anything else that, well, actually first, what would you say, like now that you have gone through this and gotten to a place where you have the tools to use and you feel a bit more confident and content, what's next for you?
Continue to put these types of tools to practice. eh, Particularly in some of these hard instances where I find myself going back into bad habits or old habits, really using these mindset tools to really challenge those old ways of being, and that's going to take effort. And that's just the way it is. That's no one else can do it for me, and I understand that, and I've got to hold myself accountable. But now I feel better about doing it. I feel like I have a way to handle it and to move on. It's not as devastating and critical and intense. It's easier to handle.
Mm. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's like a lot of the time you don't I find that you can be in the process of getting to a place and not totally be like nothing, not everything has to be perfect if you feel like you at least can handle it and
Yeah,
you trust yourself to continue navigating that and progressing. That can feel so much better than just being in this place of like, God, I don't know what to do, I feel out of control, like what's gonna happen, you know.
exactly. Yeah. I think I'm trusting myself more.
Mm,
Um, Trusting myself to be able to handle these types of situations.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. That's really great. And what, if anything, would you recommend to someone if they were thinking about joining this program, or, and they're in a similar situation?
Yeah, I think asking for help is so important, because if you find that you just can't do it on your own, that it, it, you need support, and it's so helpful just to talk to somebody about it, and to talk to somebody about it who understands. Not just like your mom or your best friend who doesn't understand or doesn't care to understand. It's so helpful to talk to people and just be open and honest. Tell it all. I found that to be so helpful. Just being open about my situation, um, and not having to hide it, just makes such a big deal. I mean, such a big impact, and I really find it to be a big deal just to be able to vocalize and talk about your problems.
Mm, yeah, yeah, and yeah, you definitely did a great, wonderful job of that. You were always so open, and even if you weren't totally sure about something that I was suggesting or saying, like you were open about that, which I think is really important because then we can actually address, those thoughts and make sure it's aligned with what you want. Which
Yeah.
is important. Yeah. And yeah, it's a good point. Like as far as, because I know you had said that you had tried kind of talking about it with like your mom or people close to you, and that is good, but like for me too, I had talked to people about it, and if they didn't really understand what what that was like, to go through and to want to deal with and break free of, it just wasn't super fruitful. Yeah.
Made me feel worse,
Oh gosh. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Um, Great. And is there anything else that you would just like to share, Teresa?
I just think this program has been, or these our discussions have been so helpful in just terms of my mindset and uh, contentness, which is really what I wanted. I feel a lot better about my situation, about my decisions. I feel happier, and I know there's still work to do, but I just feel better, and I can honestly say that, and I'm really glad. I certainly don't have the binges that I used to. I certainly am a lot more confident now with my food choices, eat more carbohydrates, more confident with the way I look, um, and yeah, I just overall feel better, and I'm just very grateful.
Hmm, that's so wonderful. I'm so glad. Um, Awesome. Well, and thank you again so much for jumping on here with me and sharing your story. I'm always so grateful for uh, people being willing to share with others, this kind of thing, because it is, it's often an intimate thing and a sensitive thing. And, but doing that is so impactful. I mean, I think that, too, like hearing other people's stories and being able to come out of situations like this is really brings a lot of hope.
It
So
does.
yeah, so thank you. Thank you for being willing. And thank you for your choosing to work with me. It's been really a pleasure. It really has, you know, to work with you, Teresa.
I,
Awesome. Yeah, well, anything else that you would like to say before we hang it up?
no, I think that's it. Thank you for everything, Michelle, and I'll continue to put in the work. I promise.
Right. All right. Awesome. All right. Well, we will see you around.
Yeah, we'll talk soon.
We'll talk. Bye.
Bye.